What's up everybody, Griffey here. Alien pregnancies, bloody holidays, giant bugs, and all sorts of ghosts await you in these underrated horror gems from the 90s. Have you ever been watching a movie and you said, hey, why is there not an angel Patrick Ewing and an angel Fabio in the movie? Not while you're watching Exorcist III, because that's in there for some reason. This movie is bizarre, it's wild, it has real bone-chilling moments. It's one of those movies that feels exactly like an exorcism movie, while following a lot of elements that are not supernaturally based. You need real-world horror to play with The Exorcist. That is what Exorcist II got wrong, right? We don't want to fly around on the wings of a locust. We want a real-world story. So the edifice of the police procedural gives it a really good backbone. It kind of roots The Exorcist in a world that it needs. So setting this in a hospital gives you real-world sicknesses. We have a serial killer. The serial killer setting is super helpful for the exorcism. This movie also has a wonderful Brad Dourif performance as the possessed victim at the end of the movie. Now, you probably know Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. So he was horror royalty before he even took on the mantle of the rubber doll. People who want a straight horror ride, this is not it. This movie always veers towards fun, it veers towards sexy, which is weird in a zombie setting, right? Usually when you see undead zombies shambling around, you're also not turned on. In Cemetery Man, you are. The Italian horror comedy stars Rupert Everett as a lovelorn cemetery caretaker, whose pursuit of romance is upended by a constant stream of zombies. The European horror aesthetic can often be very different and hard for audiences to hit when it first lands in America. It's possible that the film's tonal shifts may have confused viewers. This movie should have worked. This movie is in the same vein as Evil Dead. It veers towards fun first, it veers towards sexy first. And that's a beautiful thing. Why do you want the same old zombie movies? You don't want people walking around. You want people walking around while beautiful people stand next to you. That's what Cemetery Man does. It's a wild, fun ride. It's beautifully shot. This movie should have hit and crushed everything when it landed. But at least it slowly built up a cult following of fans who appreciate its cool, off-kilter perspective now.
What are you doing on TV?
I'm rotting fast, Daddy.
The supernatural horror flick Stir of Echoes was a modest hit when it was released in 1999. I still to this day don't know why this movie didn't hit bigger than it did. It stars Kevin Bacon as Tom Witzke, a working class husband and father who discovers that he can communicate with the dead after being hypnotized by his sister-in-law. He then has visions of a missing young girl, so he begins to investigate the circumstances behind her death. If you did The Sixth Sense without the insane, shocking twist ending of that movie, it's Stir of Echoes. And that's perhaps the most memorable element. Stir of Echoes is equally as personally haunting as The Sixth Sense. Beneath the ghostly trappings of the paranormal, there is always real pain and loss. Guillermo del Toro's American feature film debut, 1997's Mimic, is a sci-fi horror hybrid about a strain of human-sized insects that emerge from New York City's subway system. I love the idea of this. We create a super genetically altered cockroach to destroy cockroaches. And then life finds a way and those cockroaches bang other cockroaches that then make cockroaches that haunt New York City. And this is the best part. Their carapace shells come together to form not protection, but what looks like a vagrant in a trench coat, walking around on two legs that look exactly like flashers. That's scary before you find out they're bugs that eat us.
Now, if we could catch that male and kill him, then the females won't be able to breed, and the whole generation could die out.
Alas, making Mimic was an unhappy experience for Del Toro as he reportedly clashed with Miramax chief Harvey Weinstein and eventually lost control over the final cut. Giant bugs are always scary, but none of them look like they could also be sex offenders. That's where you see the Del Toro. That is the kind of weird idea that makes this movie unique and memorable and terrifying. Audiences hoping for a return to the gore of Hellraiser may not have known what to make of the Clive Barker-directed Lord of Illusions. A mystery fantasy horror hybrid, Lord of Illusions follows occult detective Harry D'Amour, who's hired to protect a stage magician who's been targeted by the leader of a doomsday cult. And anyone who's a magician, you're a creep. We don't trust you, we don't like you, no one who does sleight of hand magic is cool. No one who performs on stage as a magician is cool. So the idea that you're in doomsday cults and may have real power, that all you do with it is do like terrible Vegas shows that look like Chris Angel stuff, is really lame. but is a great place to find a super-powered cult. Then you throw in Scott Bakula as this confused, befuddled detective. He's like, wait, is this really about magicians battling each other for the powers to end all of mankind? And the answer is always yes. Like other films on this list, Bride of Re-Animator suffered in part because it was considered a lesser follow-up to the original. Much of the sequel centers around West's plan to reanimate body parts instead of corpses, which leads to some revolting yet hilarious special effects. This culminates in a ghoulish scheme to revive Kane's girlfriend. The creation is gross and gives us those ghoulish, bizarre, fun elements that only Re-Animator gives us.
You're nothing but a dead head.
This is the example of give me too much of a good thing. This is why we have Cracker Barrel. This is why we have all-you-can-eat buffets. This is why candy bars now come in 2-pound bags. Because yes, is it better than the original Re-Animator? No. Is it somewhat just rehashing the same territory? Yes. Do I want you to shovel all of that into my eyeballs? Absolutely, I'll get the clamps. The cast is amazing, the effects are gross and gnarly, it's hilarious. So if you want to say it's a lesser Re-Animator, that's fine. So is almost every other movie. Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, follows the by now standard plot of travelers who fall afoul of Leatherface and his cannibal family. Leatherface in this, he's got big uncle energy. This is the Leatherface movie where you can see years of mayhem and chasing people down and carrying them to your butcher shop. It takes a toll on your joints. Did we want Leatherface with a really overly big knee brace? What doctor did Leatherface go see? Viggo Mortensen is not only in this movie, he is the main driving force of the cannibal family. He plays a charming, kind of slick, beautiful cowboy type. And then when he flips the switch to go dark, it is super dark. And it is so fun to imagine Aragorn in his younger days just behaving this absolutely reprehensible. His performance is one that you must see if you're a horror movie fan. The 1995 Spanish-Italian production, The Day of the Beast, about a priest, a professor, and a metalhead who commit a string of criminal and blasphemous acts in order to prevent the birth of the Antichrist, is fueled by a steady stream of cartoonish violence and pointed criticism of religion. And to top it all off, it's a Christmas movie, but just the very base conceit that a priest must save mankind by going out and sinning as absolutely much as possible is a beautiful place to start this movie. Weirdly, in a movie that is mostly a comedy with some horror flavor, kind of poking the power systems that be. It also has a lot of brains to it, which you are not expecting when you turn this movie on. 1995's Haunted clearly represents an old-fashioned approach to ghost stories. It's a period piece set in post-World War I England, where an American parapsychology professor played by Aidan Quinn investigates claims by an elderly maid that the 3 siblings under her care are plagued by ghosts. The professor discovers that all is not as it seems between the siblings, and he also soon finds himself targeted by the ghosts.
I don't trust anyone or anything in this house.
Haunted came at the end of director Lewis Gilbert's long career, which also included 3 James Bond films. Those expecting elaborate special effects will be sorely disappointed, but horror fans who appreciate slow boiling suspense and gothic atmosphere will appreciate Gilbert's steady hand and attention to detail. When Haunted gets scary, it delivers a surprisingly grisly, though not graphic, story marked by murder and madness. Plus, a young Kate Beckinsale is particularly effective as a young woman whose flighty behavior masks a truly diabolical nature. The 1999 Spanish flick, The Nameless, wasn't exactly a hit with critics, and it does struggle at times with plot coherence. But it's also possible that the negative response is due to its unrelentingly dark tone and subject matter. Based on a novel by celebrated British horror author Ramsey Campbell, The Nameless centers on a violent child murder, and also features a satanic cult, a concentration camp doctor, an abusive ex-boyfriend, and matricide. What sounds like a checklist of unpleasant ideas is handled skillfully by director Jaime Ballagero. Best known for the found footage film Wreck, Ballagero emphasizes atmosphere and emotion over gore, though there is plenty of the latter. And he concludes it all with a devastating plot twist that will leave viewers breathless. Chances are you've never even heard of this next selection, let alone forgotten about it. Released in 1994, Dark Waters is a surreal thriller that features British actress Louise Salter traveling to an island convent to understand its connection to her late father. She then discovers strange rituals, human sacrifices, and a locked closet that contains something loud and angry.
I can't stay here. Where else can you go?
I don't know.
Though reportedly a challenging production due to language barriers and other issues, Dark Waters boasts a creepy, dreamlike take on elements from H.P. Lovecraft's mythology. The remote Russian and Ukrainian locations also provide an eerie, alien atmosphere, making for the sort of place where diabolical rites might have taken place for centuries. Dark Waters has been difficult to see in the United States, save for one Blu-ray release in 2017. Although cult label Severin Films did release it as part of a sprawling folk horror movie box set. In the 1998 South Korean film Whispering Corridors, something terrible stalks the halls of the Jukaran High School for Girls. All of the students and teachers accept that the ghost of a former pupil is lingering. But when the most brutal teachers begin dying, a new hire digs deep into the school's history to determine who or what may be responsible. A foundational entry in the wave of South Korean horror that emerged as cultural restrictions were waived when the country's military dictatorship ended in 1987, Whispering Corridors sought to emulate the Japanese horror boom of the early 90s. Many of the tropes popularized by films like The Ring are echoed here, especially the vengeful, dark-haired female spirit. But the heart-stopping scares in J-horror are traded for gloomy and unnerving atmosphere, though there are still jumpy moments and gruesome deaths. Director/co-writer Park Kyung also uses his film to criticize a broken school system and authoritarian regimes in general. The mix of commentary and thrills made Whispering Corridors one of the most popular South Korean films of the year and spawned 5 unrelated sequels. As far as outrageous premises go, it's hard to beat Baby Blood. This 1990 French film concerns a pregnant woman abused by her circus owner husband who encounters an alien creature that enters her body to assume control of her unborn child. Once inside, the creature demands constant nourishment in the form of human blood, while also offering steady commentary on her behavior and its need for her help with an escape plan. The woman finds no shortage of meals for her parasitic companion, and she spends much of the movie completely covered in blood. But if Baby Blood were just a non-stop gore fest, it would be instantly forgettable. But the relationship between the chatty alien and its host slowly begins to resemble a warped version of motherhood. When it was released in America with the title The Evil Within, audiences saw a dramatically cut version with one unique perk. The voice of the alien was provided by Gary Oldman. Japanese filmmaker Shinya Tsukamoto gained international attention in the late 80s with visually assaultive experimental films like Tetsuo the Iron Man and Tokyo Fist. He shifted gears in 1991 for Hiruko the Goblin, a supernatural thriller based on stories from the Yokai Hunter manga. Alas, Hiruko was a critical and box office failure upon its release, and it remained unavailable in the United States until 2022. The primary complaint seemed to be that it hewed closer to a traditional horror film than Tsukamoto's previous work, with seemingly normal characters and a linear plot. But in its best moments, it's just as chaotic and outrageous as any of Tsukamoto's other films. The core premise is simple. An archaeological dig releases the titular spirit, which turns a student into a malevolent severed head on scuttling spider legs. The movie is eventually swarming with such monsters, all given life through practical effects and stop-motion animation that evokes the cartoon energy of Sam Raimi and the nightmarish aliens of The Thing. So there you go, fill your weekend with these underappreciated 90s horror movies, and let us know in the comments which ones we missed.